saying that says, bring any.
Go backwards. Okay.
You know, relieve you of their sobriety.
Go backwards.
The spirits will curse you.
Go backwards.
It even says using vulgar language, like, you know, profanity, they'll curse you. The spirits, they don't like it. Now, I mean, shit, look, I'm there. Yep, they must got a seat for me waiting. But, yeah. Yeah, so drinks and stuff, I allow them, but the spirits don't like it. They say they'll curse you, okay? I should have gave you a fork. Oh, walk in backwards, I'm sorry. When you come in, you're supposed to walk in backwards. When we leave, we're to walk out backwards. Yeah, through the gate. Don't worry about it. When we leave, we walk in backwards. I mean, we walk out backwards. Just make sure you walk out backwards. Because you can bring something, so you can have a ghost on your hind. Right?
Good choice.
We just don't know. Don't still use it. Yeah. Hey, so guys, what I tried to, convey earlier is that my job is to, better acquaint you with our burial practices. The Masons have opened up their doors to us, allowing for us to come inside the Freemasons. It's a fraternal order. Most people believe them to be Illuminati. Behind the scenes of what goes on with, the wealthy, like the celebrities. Like, most people believe this is really the Freemasons doing when they're, thinking that they're Illuminati, when they affiliate them with the Illuminati. But the Freemasons started off as quite a small group of men who were in fact Masons. They add free to it is because being a Mason, guys who work with stone masons, back then, what I read was that typically it was like taking up a trade. Like, the education was typically only afforded to the wealthy. So men typically, picking up the trade of masonry, being free, a free man, this would allow them to travel and do various works across the region, right? So that term was born, Freemason, meant that this guy was free and he could in fact work as an operative, meaning in the craft as a mason. So over time, men, just but became very interested and dreamed of becoming a Freemason. And this created a networking system. In fact, it said that the Masons, the way banks today charge interest for holding our money, right? The Masons created that technique because they started from the Knights Templar, where they were security detail for the king, and they would begin any goods that would travel across the region, like high priority goods, diamonds, gold. They would charge a 10% tax of whatever it was in those carriages, right? Yeah. So essentially, these guys, created this huge networking system, and it still survives today. All right. So many folks believe that the Masons are, just the rich and the wealthy, but any of us, though it's all women, because the Masons don't allow men, the Eastern Stars are the women. We have the opportunity to become an Eastern Star in the women, and a man has the opportunity to become a Freemason and just approach them, asking them to do so. Okay? So we talk about the tombs, respects to Masons and Eastern Stars. I like to talk about the tombs real quickly, all right? So fascinating, interesting information. I did hear someone say it. I have not a single guy on my tour tonight. I just realized that.
No?
So you were telling the truth. I'm sorry, I said ladies and gentlemen last night. I mean earlier. Yeah, this is all women.
Hey, that's men are
you get my drift? Yeah, but I didn't notice. I didn't notice it was all women tonight. And I'm talking about the Freemasons. That's all a bunch of men. Yeah, we go with the way that the tombs are used. So here, beautiful structure. Most people probably would concur or agree, right? So here, in New Orleans, we do things differently, right? We do a total 360 or a 720, right? We go all the way back around, okay? We bury above ground in New Orleans because of our water. You probably heard this. Our water table is really, really high. So this causes for remains to commonly come up or frequently come up, right? The remains basically are exhumed naturally because of the flooding, right? So this was grappled with back then. Early on, they did try for a long time. That's why for me, like I said, I didn't know this. Like in the history in school, like when we learned in grade school, they give us the basic knowledge, you know, of the Louisiana Purchase, the very basic of the founding of New Orleans, right? They don't really go into detail about burials. They, you know, I guess they figured, you know, this would literally bore the kids to death. But essentially what happens is, I didn't know this, and I find it to be very interesting that New Orleans was founded in 1718, yet we know that the French and the Spanish would bury this way, had already been buried this way for centuries before the founding of New Orleans. Yet we did not establish above ground burials in New Orleans until the 1800s. So 1804 to be exact, you started to see more of the burials. 1789 it is expressed. St. Louis Cemetery number 1 was built. However, it did not yet have tombs. They were burying the folks in the ground in St. Louis Cemetery 1. By the early 1800s, the late 18th century, we started to see the tombs. So for me, this is why I'm like, this is culture. This is a cultural thing. It just took almost 100 years for them to realize, oh, we should, you know, do it as our culture of this, you know, from which we descend. So what happens is it acts as an accommodation for the water table, keeping the remains planted. It won't come up. And it's a family tomb. The tomb will bury the entire family. All of our tombs, all of our burials, the whole family will be buried in that one spot. Even the underground burials, they all go in one spot on top of one another. So you'll probably dig up a grave in New Orleans if they're underground. You have generations on top of it. But there's 20 people buried. So yeah, this one is, we have 1890s, 1996, 86, I mean 60 was that 68. Then we have like 86. So they have like 3 generations so far. And there's a couple older burials. We got a few more older burials on the back. Yeah. But there's 20 people been buried here. Yeah. So they go, you know, back. Yes, that's what it is. This one is a double tomb. So we have 2 compartments where the bodies can be entombed. And that is, I would say, very efficient for us, because when the body is interred, the body must stay in the tomb for a year and a day before it can be reopened. That's how we get 20 people. I think, frankly, just reopen it, put a new body inside, and reshift or shift the old remains. So this is how it happens. The tomb is to act as an oven. When the remains go inside, it is quite likely. Now, I'm describing it from a historical standpoint. It was quite likely back then there was no embalmation. The body wasn't embalmed, nor was it in a coffin. They would put the body in burlap after wrapping it in plastic. The funeral was all for show. Everything, smoke, all the bells and whistles at the funeral. Then once they come out, relieve them of the casket. The body is entombed, wrapped up in burlap. 1 year, 1 day, the summer, it expresses. Although it's for a whole year, it is to have the body endure the summer. The summer heats the tomb. The tomb gets real hot. The body decomposes in the summer, essentially. Most of the decomposition will take place in the summer. Once the body decomposes, there lies bone. They just frankly bone. The bone is shifted to the back. They sweep it or push this bag of bones to the back of the tomb. The tomb bears either a gap or a shaft. Either this gap is used or shaft to have the body, the bone bag, fall down into here. This area is called Le Caveau. So it's a basement, essentially, or a vault. So Le Caveau means the vault. The correct way to say it is Le Caveau. Le Caveau. It means like the French. It's French. So it means the vault. And all of the bones are there. So it gives the body, frankly, enough decomposition period. It goes to a bone, goes shifted to the bottom, opening up a new space for a new family. So luckily, yeah, they have two. But families who have a single, then they don't have another place for their body to go. You would think so. Back then, they didn't have refrigeration, so they rented tombs. And even to this day, we still rent tombs. Back there, you see that wall all the way at the back. Looks like a locker system all the way back there. They rent those tombs out for a year to be. And the body has goes over there. And they bring the bones back later to here to meet the family. Yeah. Yeah, the final resting place. No, there's no separate ceremony. All of that happens 1%. And because, frankly, the sweeping and moving of the remains, the bones, is just to clean the tomb. That's it. Yep. And most families nowadays in the woods, it's become custom not wanting to be present when that happens because you see it all. Like, it's stories of people at the funerals, or when they open these up, you see the whole family. Because all of them don't have the caveau. Some of them, you open up all of their bones, because some of them can have coffins in them. And what they do is, they reuse the coffin, or the coffin, the first coffin is discarded of, they take the remains out and they seal the bones on the back wall. So when they open them up, you see it all. And they just put the new coffin in and seal it. Yeah. It's basically, we don't hold nothing back here. You see it all. Yeah. It saves space. It's all about space saving. All right, this had been utilized in France for centuries already. That's where we adopted it from. Yeah. So, any questions? All right, guys. So, follow me this way. We're gonna walk this way. I want to show you guys something.
It would be a big deal.
Yeah.
I lost them. Oh, well, I'll follow y'all.